Welcome, Hess. How we doing?
Hello.
It's been a crazy day.
Oh, that seems to be a common theme here.
We have a wavelength. That is most assuredly true, and I appreciate that very much. Before diving right in, because we are a little bit past hard start, are there any questions?
Uh-oh, I think you cut out.
No, I just asked, were there any questions?
No, I heard him. I was looking to see what I missed.
I was expecting the full questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off.
No, that's the second time and final time. It's the going, gone, and then we are off to the races.
I think I'm caught up to speed on everything right now.
Okay, so if I remember where everybody was, Lucio was still with Sylvia and Vivi, not in town. Sophia and Silvio are at the church doing reconnaissance. Hestia and Miriam were in the office trying to figure out what to do with the information. And that's where we left it, right?
That is entirely where we left it. So, we have an idea as to where everyone is physically. We have an idea as to some of the things that were in the works. We have an idea as to where the coterie is leaning. And we have an idea that a feeling, a spirit, a presence, a aura, that this is the brawl for it all. This is for all of the marbles. These are the final steps on that dawn of actual full out war, battle of a sort that will be definitive. There is the creeping dread that this is the moment. This is the battle at Midway. This is Pearl Harbor. This is the abandonment of Ho Chi Minh City. This is the Trail of Tears. This is that. This is all of those moments. This is Antietam and all of those other battles, or the Battle of Hastings Bridge. This is that moment where what will be can only be discerned and decided by what is. And so, if we have any questions, concerns, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off, this is the last hurrah for such a thing.
Okay, I also remember that Sophia messaged other members of the coterie telling them where she was, if I remember it, or no?
No, Sylvia texted you to let you know about the extra muscle that was at the church.
Okay, yeah, so I remember getting some sort of message, but I don't remember what it was, and that was it. Okay, got it.
Guess who listened to the game today?
And just to be clear, Lucio has made no messages or hints that he's off with Vivi seeing Blakeney. So as far as anyone else knows, he's either MIA or he's... I think actually he did mention he might be meeting a contact, implying that it was from Novak. So as far as anyone knows, that's where he is.
I think the most amusing thing is, having listened to the game today, all three of us are fucking each other over.
Yeah.
Not intentionally.
Yeah, Hester's the good guy.
And it's so much fun. I'll be perfectly honest with all of you. I am a sucker for coterie drama. So, yay.
It's not even drama. It's just the decided actions everyone has decided to take is then screwing over someone else's action. So and not intentionally. It's just I'm going to do this. Well, fuck, that's going to screw up what this person's doing. So,
not necessarily. If we
lack of communication is what it is.
If we kill the Don Wojcik, then you'll have an easy time attuning to the God Machine at St. Jerome's.
Not when Hestia is trying to screw the whole ritual up to begin with.
Well, then you just have to be a bit faster.
Yeah. The celestial timing of those such interferences with the flow and ebb of energy is a wondrous thing. We call it a lot of different things: serendipity, kismet, fate, luck. And the list goes on. There's literally a word for it in every language, in every proto-language, for the forces of the world moving at their will and whim, regardless of our actions. Magic is such a thing. And without much further ado, if there are no further questions, no further suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off, I'd like to say, as always, thank you all extraordinarily for being here. Play means a lot to me, and I cannot drive that home with enough import ever. Because somewhere along the way, we as adults lose the ability to really give ourselves over to the idea of play. We lose our ability and our connection with the imaginations and all of the wild, wondrous worlds of fancy that possess our lives as children. For some of us, that has happened earlier. Some of those, it happens all too soon. Some of those, for us players, for us role players, we have found at least a small sliver of that connection. And because of that, I want to thank you all, because you all helped me express that in my existence, in my other forms of play, in my other moments. There is not a time where I'm not positing the strange paths and opportunities that this presents. The moments to be explored and the moments to be enjoyed or cried over or bothered by. And yeah, these characters, via your efforts, live for me. They run around my imagination and have all sorts of conversations and all sorts of multiversal effects and moments. So thank you all. And without further ado, this is officially Soup City Sins Season 15, Episode 2, Shrewing Tamely. Having just covered where our coterie members are, knowing where they are spatially in the world within the Chicagoland area, knowing how many intrigues and plots they are up to for their idea of the common good, we dive in moments, seconds, nano and microseconds from where we last left our coterie. Truths abounding, pacts being made, vitae being exchanged, and communications happening just beneath the notice of the world around it. The pathways are like all of the original highways through Middle Europe, through the Italian peninsula. Like all of those roads, like all of those highways, they lead to one destination. And for the coterie, that destination is Don Wojcik Castiglione. He has been the arbiter for much of the grief. He has profited by much of the harassment, haranguing, and other travails that have bombarded and assaulted the coterie. He has engineered quite a few. He has manipulated quite a few others, and he has, at every opportunity, profited off of their pain and their suffering. Now, his efforts don't just solely focus on the coterie specifically, but the city as a whole. His extended bifurcated family as a whole, the entirety of the Famiglia, the Hakata as a whole. He is a conquering force that moves through shadow, guile, and several other steps to keep himself insulated, isolated, and ever able to move forward with his plans. And now, the coterie has had enough. They've drawn a line in the sand. They've created the Rubicon that he will not pass beyond. And we pick up with Lucio. The taste of Blakeney's blood. The weight of it. It's a remarkable thing. And would be overwhelming as it is for Vivi had he not sampled deeply of others, of more potent ancient vitae. It is a interesting situation he places himself in. The overwhelming aspects of his ability to sunder bonds, take preeminence, and take precedence over almost everything else misses him. He survives the initial onslaught of all of that age and experience invading his system. And while his beast, the avaricious little gremlin that it is, always wants more, his conscious mind, which remains still seated in all of his faculties, knows that he has had so much better. So it is settled. We have a deal. And we will make the travail to mount our affirmative offense against Don Castiglione. Will you wish to take part in our boarding team?
Yes.
Excellent. We have scouted St. Jerome's externally. We know most of the paths of egress. We have not invaded the inner structure. So once we pass the perimeter, we will be inside enemy territory. We will be behind enemy lines with no clear intelligence. And we can't risk it in advance because it may come to notice. Oblivion is a wondrous thing, and it connects us all.
Out of character, Lucio has been inside St. Jerome's, hasn't he?
Yes, he's been inside the public areas and sat in the pews and watched the congregation of souls that are being churned forward, processed almost as if there's an assembly line of pain and suffering that they are adding their weight and heft to.
Remind me, was there... How do I put this? Was there like a watchdog spirit there that was like guarding over them, if I remember correctly? Or was that something else I was remembering?
Well, that's a conflation of several scenes, but yes, there are security aspects in place. And one of them is the Forcipulis-like spirit watching over that line, over those pews filled with the dead.
That is knowledge Lucio would have, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then Lucio will speak up. I have been inside the church briefly at one point. I saw the spirits they had chained up there. They've been treating them like an assembly line and using them for whatever purpose, and they seem to have a creature there, not unlike Forcipulus, that presides over them.
Did you say Forcipulus? The thin
Yes.
blood? The thin blood who's surmounted the army of thin bloods southwest of here.
You don't know what he is.
You mean besides a thin blood that is extraordinarily strong? No. Is there something more?
Yes, I don't know what his kind calls themselves, but he is not a thin blood. He is a beast from the Shadow Realms that has possessed the body of a thin blood. Whatever it is something that is powerful enough and dangerous enough that other spirits give it wide breath.
That is not good.
No, it's not. They have something similar there, though presumably less sapient, considering it is enslaved to the Puttanesca and not free like Forcipulus is.
No, I don't mean what he is. What he is a danger to us all, clearly. Eventually, all things come to a head. I mean, we have been, as a friend, as an ally, as a member of our blood, we can share certain things with you, and one of those is to keep the Castigliones from finding a foothold and using whatever they are doing against us. We have been fomenting dissent between them and Forcipulus. We have been shunting and pushing thin bloods towards the dawn to anger Forcipulus to the point of potential attack. We have let slip that the Castigliones, for all of their strength here in the south suburbs, actually has a central location that is ripe for the taking after having been recently ransacked. We loaded the weapon, we pointed it at the dawn, and, well, and then Blakeney looks to Latifah and she just shrugs. I guess I should say it was a well thought out plan, a way to keep the Dawn active and engaged otherwise than us. I believe, however, that the Thin Bloods have decided that today is the day as their savior, their defender, their spirit guide, something they call Sylvia, has dissipated. We have agent provocateurs within their midst who have helped rile them up.
Who are they after?
There's a convoy of Thin Bloods on their way to make an example of Don Castiglione. They convinced Forcipulus to, as their leader, to lead the convoy. I believe our time is a little short. We may be able to use the chaos, whatever it may be, to our benefit. However, they are on their way to
St. Jerome's.
Yes.
Wow. This is gonna get interesting.
We've also notified the sheriff that there is a planned attack sometime today.
Sheriff Damien.
Yes.
And is he aware of our involvement?
No, of course not. We have done everything we can to ensure that our hands remain clean, that our influence is the most circumspect and circumstantial. including. And she stands up and moves across the room, rifling through one of the drawers, unlocked and relatively unguarded. And she walks back with a book. Looks like a old family Bible. Its pages darkened and yellowed with age. You can even see that just from the view of the closed book. The leather binding it, however, causes a little tickle at the back of your mind. Your beast sits up and takes notice. And she sits it on the table. This, well, there's a supplier to the Toyador in the city, from the north suburbs. We have made use of their connection to the Toyador to apply political pressure on Damon. They believe that those who are attacking St. Jerome's are using this in their stead. So the Tremere are mobilizing to assist Damien.
Oh dear God.
Blakeney leans forward on the table. You don't understand. In all of my years, I have never been enslaved by anyone or anything. Even my beast bows to the strength of my mind. And your father found a way to take that from me. We will bring him hell. We will make sure that he prays for death. We will make sure that all of the pain that I inflicted while enslaved by that madness, that all of the pain inflicted upon me in that madness, he experiences in his loss. No one does that to us. No one does that to me. And no one does that to you. And he is the source of all of our discontent. He is the source of... And you can see the others begin to focus in on her as she begins to speak. The passion in her voice, the way that there's a slight tremor in her hand. All signs that they don't like. All things that, for all of their calm, placid facade, is very telling. And Blakeney looks between them and you, and the softest, faintest razor blade smile flashes across her face. And in doing so, we will be stronger for it. And in doing so, in divesting the Castigliones of their hold on Chicago, creates an opportunity for us.
Well, then let's get to it then.
Excellent. And everyone begins rising and making their way out, some double-checking their personal armament. And as you all exit, begin to load up in the vehicles you're going to be using, Vivi leans over. Are you sure that she's not still crazy?
Honestly, I'm counting on her being a little crazy.
And speaking of a little crazy, and conversations held in the dark, and agreements made, the oozing, shifting, only permeable face before you that triggers all of those memories you would rather not dredge up. Standing far too close, just inside your personal bubble. A thing that most specters and spirits are unwilling to do, but it is clear that in this moment, this specter, this spirit, this being wants to be near your youth, wants to inhale in the scent of you. Sofia mi micro stata. The maestra has laid herself bare for you. Perhaps more understanding of your plans will go very far to proving that you are not the small child that many of us, we once were. Rossellini, Danson, the Snob, Putnesca, and all of the other score of families, all fruit of the Giovanni loins. The Maestra wants to accept, wants to trust, and you will not immediately set upon her.
As I said previously, I do not have designs on the chair. But at the same time, the interests that I represent will not see it go to Putanesca hands.
But what of Tory hands? Fruit, tree, leaf, bunch. Somewhere along the line, all families are the same. After all, we are one familia. We are the Akata. Would you be willing to accept with a parcel of land and perhaps a spoke of power within the gold machine to keep it from being fully one as not another?
If my proposal is not amenable, perhaps that would be.
There is a church south of here. It is run by 2 members of the Sunday. They are malleable, and with a little push, they, one soul split between 2 bodies, could easily be pulled into your support. And from there, gaining access to their spoke of the God Machine would be very easy, especially with some assistance from one who holds such a central location.
This is a thing I will certainly look into. Surely the Maestro knows that I can bring the last piece as well.
There is the thought. But thoughts are like the wishes. They are not anything more than childish fantasies until realized. Forgive me, Maestra. I forget myself. I am no longer in the land of the living. I no longer have concerns. I merely obey. I am truly sorry. I apologize. Forgive my impertinence, my crostata. As things are beginning and the doorway is being closed, I thank you for your time. The Maestro thanks you for your alliance. Is there but much more?
We'll need to speak soon about this last piece. I may require her assistance. As long as we are amenable and on the same goal, I'm sure she should be willing to provide it, considering the price I will bring.
Very good indeed. I look forward to watching. I'm sorry, my maestra. We thank you for your time. Goodbye. For now, my crostata.
Thank you for your time as well, mister.
And the specter fades. Not at all at once. Suddenly you can see through the deeper dark shadows that form the essence of what they were, but a slow creeping thing like sweat running down the brow into knowing until it reaches the apex of your chin and falls away. And that's how slickly slimy the feel of the specter fading is, because you are sure that even as it's losing what little corporealness it has, that it is still in the ether around you.
She'll look back to Sylvia with that. The spirits are brave. They apparently have gathered in the area, and rightfully so. Are we prepared?
Sure thing, as best as we can be, as long as we're not planning on charging through. You see all that security? Look there. And then you realize part of what he's been doing has been scoping not just St. Jerome's itself, but the immediate area around it. St. Jerome's is a huge church. And even a huge church in a city the size of Chicago is nothing more than a drop in the bucket. Yet where it's located there on Lunch and Paulina, across the street, the two apartment buildings directly facing it provide ample opportunity for lines of sight. Atop the northeastern building, the furthest north building on that, the further north apartment on that corner, provides clear lines of sight to two sides of the building. The one on the furthest southeast portion of Paulina provides cover to the other two sides of the building. In each of those buildings, at the top of them, there are people moving around, and at this hour of the night, that's an impossibility. Chicago, unlike New York, is not a place where people, because of lack of space, have had to go up. It's not the standard normal thing. People don't hang out on the rooftops unless, of course, it's at a bar or a hotel. Neighborhoods such as this are spread out. They take up a lot of space. They don't go up. So congregating on the tops of buildings or near their apexes is a sign that someone is amassing.
All right, well, let's find a spot where I can do what I need to do without drawing any attention.
I was thinking about that. There's a school right there, just south, next to the hair braiding spot, the new field. It gives us line of sight to two sides of the building. We won't be able to watch the north, and we won't be able to watch the east. But everything on that side, we should have view of.
That could work. How far away is it?
Just there, just across Morse right there.
Sophia obviously knowing a lot more about this than I do, or are we still going to be close enough for her to try to usurp the attuning?
Yes, you are still inside the most central range, or the most central diameter radius of the circle of effect. You are at the edge of that and could be intercepted, but no one's really going to intercept you, right? No one knows what you're doing. And the one person that might know what you're doing has agreed that you two can work together towards your shared goal.
School it is.
And the funny thing about Chicago schools, I'm not sure if this is something that's just Chicago, but the vast majority of them built around a certain period, late 60s to early 70s, has a similarity in design as, well, most of the prisons built around that same time as well. They're functional. There's just enough windows to provide enough light, and they are utterly devoid of any real style. They are boxes that house people. The Newfield Elementary is no different. It is a building that is vaguely U-shaped, almost as if it's hugging St. Jerome's itself. And unlike most buildings in the area, it is one of the few that is not either a apartment, condominium, or church. Within the St. Jerome's Parish, within 2 blocks of where you currently are, there are, not counting St. Jerome's itself, 6 other churches, all of them Catholic, all of them part of St. Jerome's Parish. There's Mission Christiana, there's Maranatha, there's St. Jerome's itself, there's St. Jerome's the Lesser, it's a slew of churches that form a network as part of the parish. Now, tactically, we're not sure how militaristic Sophia is, but would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll an intelligence and either academics or survival?
All right, so academics then. I'm going to assume that my specialty in research does not apply.
No, it does not apply.
Well, I don't like that.
Oh, well now.
Damn you, willpower, be more useful.
Well, 3 successes does meet the burden of proof necessary for the realization to dawn. And why it's important for whoever is going to take the lead or collect the most pieces of the machine would need St. Jerome's. While it is not specifically the access, because you know that in fact is the shelter, it is a linchpin, and its area has been designed to funnel as much of the energy from the shelter into itself without ever tripping or causing an ebb or a loss of power. It's literally like your next door neighbor back during the early 2000s, late 90s, early 80s, stealing cable with a splicer so your signal doesn't drop, so that your service doesn't lessen. But they are able to, with a small little pinprick screwed into your line, have just as many basic channels as you do. They don't get the premiums, at least not without the correct adapters on their TVs and various lines inside their home, but they are able to get the full basic package, unfettered, without ever interrupting your signal. And the part that sucks, the part that really gets Sophia's goat, she realizes with how old the buildings are, how ancient some of them actually are, that this all happened before the Castiglione and Tories took full control of the city. This happened before they became the powerhouse that they currently are. This happened before Don Castiglione was more than just a dream in someone's pants.
Jeez. She's not totally surprised by that because she knows Dawn isn't that old.
And with that revelation and that realization that the Castigliones are profiting yet again based off of someone else's work, that the Pudinesca yet again is stealing someone else's efforts and legacy and their hard work and endeavors toward their own end, there's a small flare of annoyance. Not because they're doing it again, more so that it keeps fucking working. They worm themselves into information and utilize it to its best outcome for themselves.
It is what the Putanescas do. Be little cockroaches.
And speaking of creepy crawlies, bugs being in places where they shouldn't, we turn our gaze toward the shelter. The piece that ensconces the central nest of all of the ley lines that rocket, race, creep, and crawl through the Chicagoland area. This is the central breaker. This is the main line of power where it wells and roils, and inside this nest of energy, inside this nexus point between worlds and realities, we have Miriam and Hestia click-clacking away at her phone, because even though it is a touchscreen, there is a haptic response that sounds all too loud in the privacy of where you all are, knowing what it is that you've found out. Ignacio is anything and everything save thought out. Ignacio was anything and everything except for someone who could collect this amount of information. Ignacio was not known for being a thinker. Reactionary, maybe. Maybe even considered handsome, considering how closely, how almost impossibly close he and Lucio are in looks, or were in looks, and the truth of their lineage. But a thinker, an investigator, a deductionist, hardly. So Hestia, looking at your screen, blinking, not showing whether the message has been read or seen. Fucking Lucio not having a decent iPhone. With all of the secret information sitting there to be parsed over more thoroughly by you and Miriam. What is it that you and Miriam are doing?
As he looks at Miriam, you ever feel like somebody's sitting somewhere with their hand over like the button for a nuclear bomb, and no, you can feel it breathing up the back of your neck. You can't really do anything about it, so you're sitting there trying to pretend nothing's fucking wrong. That's the feeling I'm having right now. Sophia said something about there's a lot of people at the church. So Don Lissick was not playing around. He brought like hella backup. And it's just us fucking four. Like, we're not even like the Power Rangers or anything. We don't have no fucking Zords or like cool fucking flips we can do or none of that shit. What the fuck are we supposed to do? I don't even know how to stop this fucking stupid ass ceremony thing we're supposed to do. I mean, I know there's magic involved in there, but I don't. Shit. It's so bad. And then this fucking bomb full of information. All this information. Like, what the fuck are we supposed to do with that? Nobody's supposed to know we have this. Did you tell anybody we have this?
Not yet. Well, my sire, since we were going that route, but yeah.
Well, I suppose you can trust them, they're your sire, but at the same time, I've met plenty of sires who fucked their children over royally when time came, so is they one of those sires, or one of the I can trust them, take a bullet for me sort of sires?
He hasn't been the former yet, but he's not really the bullet-taking type. He sets people for that.
Like that old show, the Silver Spoons or whatever you're talking about, Willis, that guy.
Sure, if that's the image that it invokes. What we can do, and it's a risk, but we could activate the chain.
The what?
The phone tree.
Oh. I don't know if I grew up with phone trees. Because your Tia calls, like, your cousins,
yes.
And then the next thing you know, like, somebody knows that you got dumped. It's, like, horrible. I hate that shit.
Yes. Much like that.
Oh, who do we call?
That would be playing a card that I'm not sure we're ready to. Do you go with yet, unless you want to start with your friends down at the club?
Which club?
In Dalton.
Oh, or Shrewing. She can't really help us right now. She's doing her own thing. I mean, unless she's gonna send, like, Bahari here. Actually, you know what?
Already Bahari here.
She might be able to do that. Huh. Okay.
It's a risk, but
Oh. Okay, in that list, is there somebody, like, who's in charge of the Anarchs on there? Because remember what Lucio said about the Anarch bar? Maybe you can throw them in there.
I can scan through and look.
There you go, cannon fodder. Perfect.
Alright. So I will go through and search through the list for Anarchs.
You know, that's the funny thing. Most people, most kindred, don't take the Anarchs as anything more than the hottest, newest fad. And they've been the hottest, newest fad since they originally rebelled before the Convention of Thorns. They've been the hottest, newest fad since before the Sombra killed their antediluvian. They've been the hottest new fad long before the Red List. They're not actually going anywhere. But they're still the hottest, newest fad. There's not an Anarch or a Baron worth their salt that could possibly do anything directly against a Camarilla Prince. There's nothing they can do against even the Hounds of the Sheriff as far as the Max Public is concerned. It's not like they've taken a city. It's not like they've owned any territory. It's not like they've changed anything. In fact, most Anarchs are just Camarilla with extra steps as far as most people are concerned. And as such, on the phone list, in the phone tree, in the score and reams of information, Those even remotely marked as anarchs are marked unreliable, meaning the information wasn't verified. The contact information wasn't quite proven true. It wasn't verified. Yet, there's a listing for a Baron Lelio. There is a listing for a Baron Wainwright. There is a listing for Geneva. There is a listing for Baron Stevens. Deciding whom and what to use or call is up to you.
Thing from their conversation and visit to Dalton, that whole sordid details kind of got built. So she knows Geneva is no longer a person in existence. So Sarah Stevens, I think she would have known that name, but not kind of really what to think of that person. And that they might have been too far away to get there in time for help. What about the other two? Any, like, does the names of the other two, like, ring any bells for Hestia?
Ring any bells in regards to what?
It's rumors or gossip or fables about them as a person.
Sadly, in Hestia's Hermitage, the information that they have at their disposal in regards to rumors is a little limited when it comes to reaching across the aisle. When it comes to reaching outside of the city and outside of the tower itself, it's a little threadbare. It's a little wane. And the idea that someone is calling themselves Baron is equal to Prince, for lack of a better, truer definition. And as far as you know, Chicago's the only real city in the immediate area. Despite what they say about Dalton, Dalton's a village. Thornton is a township, which is a collection of villages. Maybe a town is somewhere in Dalton, but even that is nothing in comparison to a city. Being completely biased and calling it what it is, despite Hestia's leaning to live and let live, or exist and let exist, the idea of calling yourself Baron ruling over 4 square blocks but not enough people to fill one seems laughable. Sylvia had that many people under her control, and she was, as strong and knowledgeable as she was still considered less than. As important as she was for the Chantry, she still wasn't a regent. As important as she was for the pyramid, she still wasn't a primogen. She had no social, political, or visible power outside of the Chantry. And even that was, well, you know the saying, if you get paid by what you do instead of what you know, you will never be paid enough.
I ever have the information for our lovely spiky-haired friend that frequents the succubus?
Spiky-haired friend?
He has a mohawk. He's actually like a private school kid, but he tries to be so punk. I guess we both pick one number, use one of the burner phones that isn't directly tied back to us, and text them something that'll get them to show up.
When you say burner phone, Miriam's face kind of lights up. What about those guys that gave you the phone after the thing down by the church?
Oh, the Finbloods that wanted Sylvia back.
Yes.
Ah. Actually, they probably really hate me. But maybe if you talk to them, they'll listen.
I don't.
Especially since I killed her again.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. What's the worst that could happen? But they would be nearby, right?
Probably. I mean, Dalton's not that far. They could probably get here relatively shortly. So, sure, yeah. So they are going to... Wait, did Lucio leave the phone in the smart room? The safe room?
Someone retrieved it.
So, they're going to go to the safe room and look for the number on the phone. She's going to hand it to Miriam and let Miriam do the talking.
Who should I be asking for?
I'm having a brain fart, which is weird, because normally I remember every fucking thing, but the thing is, there's so much going on in my head right now. Little things are slipping through the cracks, and I think I'm falling apart.
Fine, it's fine. You said Sylvia? Okay, I will just... Yes, I've got this, it's fine. I will dial the number.
Mr. Darcy, I can't say that you have not disappointed me. I thought that we were reaching some semblance of friendship. We could mend some bridges.
I will interrupt. I'm sorry, this isn't Mr. Darcy.
Who are you?
I'm Maine is Miriam. I'm an acquaintance of Mr. Darcy's. Now, that sounds so formal. Very, Victorian.
So you're one of the killers too?
No, not really. I don't do killing. But I do think that we can find a mutual resolution. You see, there's this thing with the spiritual family going on at a church. They're trying to... I don't exactly know. That's not my area of expertise. But it seems like something that should be stopped. And I've been informed that you are familiar with such things.
You know, if I wasn't busy right now, I would laugh. I would do everything I could to hurt your feelings in this moment. But as we have another
terribly difficult to do.
But as we have another 20 minutes for drive, I got no problem having this conversation. You mean to tell me that you and your friends, your coterie members, killed someone important to me again after we reached out in peace to try to find a common ground, and you're attempting to have me assassinate someone that is bothering you?
Oh no, I wouldn't say assassinate. I just more meddle and it disrupted the ceremony. If you're not interested, that's fine. Goodbye. And she'll hang up.
Hearing that conversation, being part of that conversation, what immediately plays in your mind?
I was trying not to giggle because he was so bad. But it was kind of funny. But, hearing it, it's like, wait a minute. He said he's busy and he has a 20-minute drive. Where are they going? Are they coming here? Oh, shit. That could be a problem because we don't really have any way to defend the Haven right now. Wait a minute, how did he know I killed Sylvia again? You fucking tattletale that one.
That spirit thing, maybe, I don't know. It seems like they like to talk.
Like a crybaby. Yeah, chicken inside the boy. I gave her a perfectly good chance to take that other body, but she didn't do it. So I'm not taking the blame for this one. If they're headed here, that's a problem. I don't think we can disrupt the thing as a church ourselves because we may have to defend the Haven. Yeah. And then she texts Lucio about in Bloods headed this way, possibly? Question mark. They said they'll be here, be somewhere in 20 minutes. If they're headed here, we don't have any defenses. Where are you?
It's hard not to find those 3 dots at the bottom of your screen as the most annoying, grating reminder. It's like speaking to someone who has headphones turned all the way up with noise canceling. You've been talking to them for 15 minutes, unburdening your soul and your hopes, your dreams, and they have not heard a God-blessed thing. They are present, but completely unaccounted for. They are lost in their own minds and in their own music, or podcast, or conversation, or otherwise present but absent. And that's what those 3 dots blinking seems to say.
And he takes a little bit of time to answer. Next text is going to be to Sophia, letting them know, hey, you might also have a thin blood problem, possibly, question mark. They said something about going somewhere in 20 minutes or being somewhere in 20 minutes. And they know we killed Sylvia again, so yeah. It could be a whole separate issue we gotta deal with tonight. Not sure I'm gonna make it to the church. Yeah, still can't find Lucio.
Does everyone?
Number? Oh, Miriam's asking Hestia if we have Vivi's number.
Shit. No, he had her number and he kept it like written down on a little card somewhere. And it's probably on him. Well, I don't have it.
There's an old saying, the aphorism, when it rains, it pours. Because as every member of the coteries is involved in a conversation, is gearing up for war, is heading out to beat the bushes, to complete a ritual, to arrive at a location, time takes a turn of its own. The drive from where Vivi and Lucio in the south suburbs are to St. Jerome's is just under an hour, because they have to stop and gather a few things and bring a few people into the vehicle as they make their way there. Sophia and Silvio must complete the ritual, and Hestia and Miriam are reaching out electronically as best as they can to a group of kindred possessed of the stuff of death, possessed of oblivion, that manifests itself in various different forms. So they're literally screaming into the void, clamoring for assistance and information, intelligence, all of those many small things that can make a definitive difference in the grand scheme of things. Miriam's phone doesn't go off. Sophia's phone doesn't go off. Lucio's phone, however, does. As too does Hestia. Say, number you all hope would never cross your screens again. Or at least not for another few weeks, maybe another few months. But it seems as if your vacation is over. Seems as if, well, you're back on the clock. There is a pin drop, a location included in the message from that particular number. That number being the Seneschal's number. While nominally and believed to be, the hounds and the sheriff are directly reporting to the prince. They are at his beck and call. But they are at his beck and call at the leisure and pleasure of the Primogen Council. Chicago is one of the few cities where the Primogen fought back against the prince. They're one of the many reasons why Peterson is still not the prince of the city. They were one of the many reasons that Loden even worked as diligently as he could to minimize their authority and their strength. And that's to whom the hounds and the sheriff actually report. And you all, as hounds, have been given a location to be at. Your presence is neither asked nor excused. It is a demand, with the understanding that nothing has changed your original leniency that has been provided to you all.
And where is this pin drop?
There is but one place, to one siren's call, that everyone is being pulled this evening. That is, of course, Saint Jerome's.
Well, that's convenient.
And with the coterie having their choices ahead of them, having their plots and plans laid, with St. Jerome's being the center of the universe, it is 51 after the hour. Let's make it an even 9 to be back here at of the hour exactly. See you guys in 9.
See you soon.
See you soon.
All right, how we doing?
I mean, I'm alive, I think.
I'm dead.
Living that dream.
All right, well. To get things going, would you approximate your the arrival of your cadre of assassins? Because that's literally what they are. The standard mythos as to what the magisters are the church-focused Ventru from the Sabbat. That's really not what the average magister in the Chicagoland area has been, or is even. They are forces of anti-nature, their souls being the stuff of death. And those of Blakeney's line have plied their hand at bringing death to everything they touch. For longer than they have been seeking the path of humanity, for longer than they have sought to find a better version of themselves, for longer than Lucio has been dead, they have ended things. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus brawl plus 3. And Sophia, to approximate you and Silvio's time spent preparing and timing things so that you arrive exactly at the correct moment to distract Don Wojcik. Would you be so kind as to roll you have a choice, either your wits plus occult plus oblivion, or your intelligence plus etiquette plus oblivion.
Just to make sure I'm typing this in and not making a mistake. +3 dice or +3 flat bonus to whatever I roll.
+3 die.
You know what? I'm gonna burn willpower because I don't trust it.
And
that's better.
And Hestian. A similar timing for your attempt to forestall the ceremony with your previous planned ritual having gone off. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your either resolve plus occult plus your blood sorcery, or your intelligence plus academics plus blood sorcery. And Sophia, acting for your unseen and unnoticed sire, would you be so kind as to roll wits plus subterfuge plus 2?
Yeah, I'm confused. What 2 pulls again? Or... And then you said one was blood sorcery. What was the other 2?
Wits plus occult plus blood sorcery.
Sorry, did you say my unnoticed sire?
Yes.
Mommy's come to help me. Or not.
Help.
Oh, how sweet.
Help. Yes, help. That's exactly what the Hakata are known to do.
I mean, she is my mother.
Literally and literally.
Yes.
Oh, but when has that stopped anyone in the Hakata?
It's not like the Rosawini are the most treacherous lot of them all.
Oh, certainly not.
Most? You gotta depend on which situation you're actually in. Are you standing to potentially create an opportunity for greater success that could be capitalized by someone else? If you're not doing that, you have every expectation of safety and sanctity and security in what you're doing.
Okay, I just got one question because my dice pool was 13. Like, what's the highest I could have got? If I had gotten to 13, what would have happened?
Oh, the world would have imploded. Don't worry about that. Woulda, shoulda, and 6, 8, 4. So.
I don't like that laugh. I don't even know if 8 is enough now.
Dick Van Patten thought so.
Okay. So, it gives us an average of 6, which is twice a difficult task. Twice over what would be, on average, an impossibility. Which is a high watermark for most. It is an unreachable for others. It is literally what the meaning of the word impossible means for most. However, this is in fact the shelter coterie. This is in fact the coterie that has saw to the end of institutions, has saw to the end of would-be elders, whether it's from diablerie or otherwise, brought themselves to an end. This is the coterie responsible for starting a war with the Bahari. This is the coterie responsible for rescuing a nearly torpid Damien. This is the coterie that has stood toe to toe with forces of the supernal world, beings from beyond our kin and our reckoning. This is the coterie that has flipped the board, crashed the table of games that have been played for nearly centuries. The impossible for them is a slow Tuesday. Not so much so for their enemies. The impossible is the impossible. It means exactly what they think it means. It's something that it could never in a million years happen, but for the coterie happens all too often. And as the convergence of things and the convergence of moments conspire against every hand at Don Wojcik's throat, as claws of shadows tear through his plans, as flashes of light interrupt what was to be a crowning achievement, did Hestia bring along Miriam to what had been demanded of her? Did she go to the pin drop?
phrasing it like she knows that she can't not. Because obviously to deny a direct summons from the Seneschal is basically saying, fuck you. I don't care if you try to kill me or I don't care if I die. So she has to go. But she gives Miriam the choice of, hey, so hound shit is going on and I have to go to the church. So either you can come with me and have my back or stay somewhere safe and maybe watch from a distance or something, but I have to go.
Well, I would love to. My only concern is, do we need to lock down the shelter in case we are going to have certain visitors?
Kinda don't have time. They expect me there and now.
Can your assistant
You're gonna
handle
have to
it?
take the chance. Guess. Alright, but we gotta do it quick. So on the way out the door, is why can't I remember anybody's name tonight? Lady who usually runs the kitchen. Oh, just Sebastian tell the others that there is some gang activity she heard about going to be on the radio and it's going to get dangerous down by the church, so keep everybody in and lock down best they can. She's gonna go investigate.
Okay, that's not an action that would take too much time, and of course does slow you down, because I don't know if you quite had the opportunity and joy of speaking with a freshly turned 20-something, late teen, a near adult, or not. But the questions come fast and furious. Slow and stumbling though they might be, it is for them a fast and furious thing, and where the very definition of each word is nearly questioned to the point of infinitum. It is a moment of consternation, because as each second is ticking by, adding to the next, forming minutes, as they gather their thoughts while expressing their thoughts, while stumbling over their thoughts and correcting and re-editing their thoughts as they're speaking to you. Your instructions were fairly simple. At least you felt that they were. I am going to go check on this situation. Could you let everyone know? Yeah, but what are you going to go check on? This gang fight? Why are you going to a gang fight? That makes no sense going to a gang fight. We need you here. What if something
Miriam
happens
will
to you?
just put her finger over her lips. Trust us. Just do this, please. We have to go now. And she will walk out the door. And she will grab Hestia's hand as she walks out the door.
Seconds mean almost nothing to most people. But when you need to attend a thing, each fraction of a second feels like a lifetime. And having dealt with the coterie long enough, Miriam and Hestia know that very much is in fact the case. Lives hanging in the balance, and the gap growing smaller, exponentially faster than the time that's slipping away, slipping through their fingers. So the distance between where they are at the shelter to where they need to be is a travel fraught with that understanding. Either their immortality could be forced to an end because of the time it takes to navigate the streets to get to St. Jerome's Parish. It is less than a quarter of a mile. It is close enough to spit on if you were so inclined, and yet getting there feels like it takes forever. Now, being as the shelter is west of St. Jerome's Parish and the church is slightly north, you all would be approaching from the western portion of the parish. You all would be approaching closer to, if you were to take Moorish straight over, you'd be approaching from the southwest of the church. You've passed the church several times before. You know that the orange is red brick building. You know its architecture, because unlike most churches of that same style, it's not built of that gray castle-like stone. It's the smaller standard red orange brick, but it's still with that same overarching design, that it is a castle, a sanctuary. And unlike most churches, it remains open. It remains as a sanctuary. Its doors rarely close, and when it did close, it was because of violence wreaked against it by one of your loosely associated number. The church is lit up with song and sound. The feel of the air changes when you are within half a block, and you can see it there standing as a pillar of the community, a beacon for all of the good that is possible through worship, giving of your time and effort and your energy, giving your faith and your belief towards something and someone, sharing in the fellowship of all that might be. At least that's what everyone feels on the surface. The truth of the matter is there's something insidious. There's a point where the darkness gets so deep and thick that something as small as the electricity from the snap of a finger seems to be an explosion of light. And that's what Miriam and Hestia are actually experiencing. They're experiencing having entered into a place so deep and dark that every minor fraction of energy seems to be this awe-inspiring thing to behold. While Sylvia, waiting to the moment where the energy has been built and breaking the concentration via the ritual is not the easiest thing. It's listening to old Motown, waiting for the beat to drop, or waiting for the bass line. It is the antithesis of the modern give them everything at once. It is, not to sound like a dead horse, but it is fraught. Waiting for just the right moment. Waiting for the signal you don't know is a signal. Waiting for the energy in the area to reach its apex. And in the doing, watching as the masses of souls, the weight of the other world, reaches across the veil, tears it asunder, and enters with all due force. So much so that as you're speaking Latin and carrying out the ritual yourself to interrupt the ritual, at the corner of your eyes you can swear that you see someone approaching. You can feel them, even though only the faintest of their presence enters into your understanding, and it's growing closer. Do you dare look at it? Do you dare look toward the corner of your eye and make it your vision line? That conversation is something that you have internally, but the question remains, do you, Sophia? Do you see what it is that is approaching you? And so you, as far removed as you are from the center of the action,
I would say that Sophia is probably too busy at the moment to worry about anything like that, and will hope that Silvio does what he is supposed to do if necessary.
Keeping watch and guarding you has been his life's mission. It will be his life's mission. It will be the end of him. There's a strange intimacy in that knowledge, a strange dichotomy, knowing that you are protecting the thing that will very well be the end of you. It takes a certain type, it takes a certain mindset, it takes a certain education. And Silvio is a graduate of that system. He could teach that system in another life or another moment. But that, unfortunately, there are only so many tools at his disposal. And none of those tools has any actual weight against those things already dead. Those things beyond the care and concern of the physical. So as Sophia focuses and Silvio tries to erect a protection, he even utilizes, the whole iron and salt and vanquishing and pushing and exercising and all of those things that typically works. But it doesn't work against, well, goddamn motherfuckers, why'd you all hanging out over here? The party's inside the church, says Blue as he enters into your full line of vision.
I will just ignore him and keep going.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus a code for me? Because there's nothing like having a throwback to the good old days, the bad old days, the end of the blaxploitation and the beginning of the primetime mega budget action movie that's on TV every other day, twice on the weekends. He is the living embodiment of the old, the antiquated, though strangely popular idea of the ignorant urban dweller, the loud, brash, former pimp doing good. He's going to stick it to the man or worse. And he is there in all of his glory, all of his gaudy, over-the-top glory. And if not for your belief and faith in the fact that the dead can't truly harm the living, there would be something worrying about a spirit such as him set free to his own devices. There would be something worrying about the fact that this spirit has been killed, has been ended, has been shunted and shredded, and yet the dawn brought him back. And even with that threat sitting inches from you, getting your attention or working for your attention, Sophia bends herself to the task, focusing on the task at hand, focusing on stopping this at the right moment. Speaking of right moment, there's an absence of that. You all are planning an attack in the middle of an attack, avoiding and evading the brunt of the exchange. And while the members of Blakeney's, the surviving members of Blakeney's bloodline are all old hands at dealing death, you are heading into a maelstrom of things that have already died once. Some things that technically were never born. The skill set is similar, but not exactly the same. Most kindred know that when entering into a physical matter of any sort, that the moment is already lost, that you've already lost the war, even if you win that battle. Because the kindred, monolithically, as a species, never put their immortality at risk. They do everything they can to act the proxy, to whisper sweet nothings from a distance, to be so far removed from the fallout of their actions as to never have to worry about blood splattering their $1,000 shoes. Yet here you are. 6 kindred and their associates physically storming a building that is the modern version of a castle. While there may not be actual murder holds once you breach the doors, the building is substantial. It is armored in and out by feet of stone and guarded by things best left to the imagination. Things from beyond the veil, things that have been brought back, things that are the residual essences of formerly living things. And worse, the weight of all of that energy, that spillover, that drag and dross from the shelter, adding heft and power, so that when you storm the building, as you breach and slip inside, some of you becoming shadow, others of you stepping into it and disappearing out of sight, as Vivi's skill and marksmanship becomes another tool, another shield to make sure that you all survive the engagement. Seeing Damien already inside, seeing several other faces aligned with him that you don't recognize is a difficult thing, especially being as Juanica is a force in and of himself. Seeing them aligned with Don Castiglione is heartbreaking. Knowing what it is that you must do, you have to choose in this moment, Lucio. You have to choose. And in choosing, you know that no matter which decision you make, something ends, perhaps permanently.
Lucio is sticking to the plan. He's going to follow Blakeney and his family into the fray. Ideally, he hopes not to be outed. He is thinking once this is over, he can perhaps regroup and just say he was a little bit late, but he's made up his mind. The Don dies tonight, and he's sticking with his family.
So the question begins. Hestia, Miriam, arriving at the church, with all of the energy being tossed off. Arriving at the church with there being a spiritual tornado, a twister of forces at work. What is it that you all are attempting to do?
Does Hestia see any of the other Tremere? Or they haven't gone inside yet, so I don't know Damien's here yet. I assume that they are because of the whole pin drop, but I haven't physically seen him yet.
Correct.
Looking at Miriam, it's going to get so hairy so quick. The amount of energy I feel right now is freaking ridiculous. I don't know what's going to happen. Stay low, anybody that hurts or is attempting to hurt one of our coterie members, if you can take them out, take them out. Just avoid Damien like the fucking plague, because he'll hurt you if he thinks you're turning on whatever side that they're fighting on.
Got it.
I don't know how I'm gonna get through this.
Luck?
Well, the thing is, I'm a hound. So I don't think the hounds are here not protecting Don Wilsick. I think they're on his side, possibly, because he's supposed to be friends with the princess. So it kind of goes against everything we're trying to do.
All right. We'll figure it out.
And it's funny, because up until that moment, Patsy has felt different about being in the church. And she doesn't feel that usual sick to her stomach feeling that she's been getting with the whole church and being close to it. But she's still like, there's a hindbrain lizard ear putting her hands on the door and pushing it open because of what might happen. So there's definite hesitation. And then she just pushes, kind of goes low, coming into the building.
Touching the door, and it's swinging open. It's a shock. You are not blown back. Tears don't stream. There's no immediate response to that. There's a weight here, and there's a battle already joined. You see Damien and several of the other hounds already at war. You already see them fighting shadows, and you see Blakeney's face popping from a shadow as it swarms. Juanita, there are several other hounds that you don't recognize, but are clearly part of the hounds. Some of them were formerly part of the wolf pack until recently, until, well, you all did what you did to them. There is a strange tug on her heart as she recognizes a balaclavaed thorn. Now, most people don't really pay attention to how well you know someone. Most people just take it for granted. You know how someone walks. You can hear by their tread who they are. You know how someone sleeps, even the sound of their voice as they drift off. You know what a person moves like, even if you can't see their face. But you don't think about it. It's just something that's haptically known. And as one of the balaclavaed men moves, Hestia's heart beats. The dead in her breathes for a moment, because she is sure, as she is standing, that that form, the person who owns or is behind that balaclava, is Myers, fighting for Don Castiglione, fighting on the side of the hounds, fighting to protect the Castigliones against all of these shadow. But wait, there's more than just shadows here. You recognized for subtilis and far back battling spirits, fighting them physically, even as his power is far more than the physical. You see other faces that you recognize from a distance, watching the shelter, being in the shelter, being around the shelter, going back months. And you know what they are. As sure as you knew what Abel was, you know what they are. And then you feel it, the lightning in the air, the electricity growing to a charge that causes the hair to stand on end. And you feel the weight of the Tremere as they push, pull, and sling spellcraft all in, through, and around the church. But then there's the feel of something else, just there on the tip of your tongue. A darkness that is not the dawn. Something else, similar in flavor but different. The sort of difference between chicken and turkey. You know that one is one and the other is the other. But they're close enough that if you weren't paying attention, you would not notice them.
Leaves her reeling and her head spinning so hard because there's this instinct to run to who she thinks is Meyer's side and help him, but then that would undo everything that they are trying to do. She kind of doesn't understand why he'd even be doing something like this. He has to know that the Don has threatened her life on multiple occasions. Why the hell is he fighting on his side? That's confusing to her. And then the whole Shamir, she's like, crap, I know they're here and I know I'm supposed to be helping them and I know the side I'm supposed to be on. I can't do it. He has to not make it through this evening. I can't let him be a threat to us anymore. What? Has she seen Lucio yet?
What does she consider Lucio? The many shadows that are flowing and ebbing over the combatants, the shadow creatures that are abounding and using the shadows as additional limbs, the tentacles popping out of dark places. The most unsettling thing that you have seen is that there's a shadow that reaches into one of the thin blood and they stop breathing. Thin bloods are kindred. They don't need to breathe. The shadows shouldn't do that. But then you watch as they completely exsanguinate in the matter of seconds. The shadow consuming them and all the air in their lungs. And they drop. Not like you've seen on movies 100 times over where the good guy or the good girl is shot and they fall to their knees, clutching their bullet wounds and fighting for life, even though, you know, it's just a squib, it's a bling. No, nothing so easy to swallow as that. The eyes bulge, the neck is strained as the carotid just pops out in bas relief. You can see the blood stop moving in them as their tongue swells up several sizes too large for their mouth. And they drop like a puppet with strings cut. You see Vivi dancing through the crowd. Her goal simple: drop as many people between her and the Don, and there are quite a few. He brought literally a unit of armed men led by Hugo, and they are all guns out, bristling, focused on keeping the line between the Don and everything else. Including a wounded Mama Cass laying on her side, her hands outstretched toward the Don, her vitae pooling around the floor.
about Kindred is no matter what level of power they are, I mean, ancients are a little harder to kill, but as long as you like separate the head from the body, they should die, right? Sever the spinal cord at least.
Basically true for anything.
That, all of that, yes.
Watching what's happening. She knows she has to end this. Punishment be damned if she loses her life. It's been good knowing them and it's bound to happen. And she kind of wishes she had said what she needed to beforehand, but she's going to do what she feels is right. And calling upon her blood and switching it into Paul's caress, which is poison potent enough to kill a lupine, even. And holding her blade in it and using all of the speed and blink, she is going to run the dawn through with that blade. Keep moving.
So during all of this, is the assumption that Lucio is in his Tenebrous Avatar state?
Yes.
Okay, do you need me to roll the hunger dice for that?
No, I used your initial roll for that.
Okay. So in that case, the plan, as stated, is to follow along with Blakeney's plan in trying to kill the Don discreetly. The goal is to ensure his death and not be blamed for it. So, with that in mind, all his attention is focused on following the plan, making sure it goes off without a hitch. Everything else is secondary, we'll worry about it later. Lucio will join up with the hounds afterwards once he puts some distance after the killing and make it seem like he was running a bit late.
Because you're not victim to any physical damage, you are able to have the overview as to what is happening. You watch as she blinks. She's there in your line of sight and then gone. How are you attempting to make it to the dawn when these other Oblivion users, these ghouls, these men and women with guns and seemingly blessed, though cursed would be probably more accurate, weaponry, have formed a line around him as he is there at the altar praying? You expected the ceremony to be something huge, something big, some far more satanic or demonic seeming ritual. Instead, it is the dawn, head bowed, praying from the pulpit, while all hell breaks loose. The hounds and the Tremere of the city protecting the dawn against a sea of thin bloods. The Mama Cass laying on her side, arms stretched toward the dawn. The look of death all over her. Her Rete pooling on the ground beneath her. Miriam standing in the doorway where Hestia entered. And mixed and mingled through the crowd of thin blood. Our various spirits from beyond, fell things given the opportunity to cross the veil and take on some semblance of physicality, are warring.
The plan then is to slip past the line in his shadow form along the sides of the walls, out of sight, out of line of fire, with all their attention focused on the Thin Bloods and on these spirits that Forcipules is leading. Then it shouldn't be impossible to get to the Dawn unseen by them. Once he's past the line of scrimmage, then he will... His idea of how this should be done is to basically engulf Wojcik and drag him away into the darkness where he, Blakeney, and the rest of the family can do as they need.
Would you roll your dexterity plus oblivion or stealth, whichever is higher?
Oblivion is definitely higher. May I blood surge? Because this is definitely a moment where I need as much advantage as possible. Getting hungrier. Where does that leave me? Okay, 2. Dexterity and oblivion, yes?
Yes.
It's 11 dice.
Is that all? And while that roll is happening, Miriam, watching this fracas, watching this scrum and the melee happen, what is it that you are doing?
So as Hestia blinks off, Miriam's like, oh, okay, I guess that's a thing. And she will drop down. Are the pews still intact?
Good enough of them are.
Okay. Are they the type of pews that have the bottoms that are just occasionally a slab of wood, but the rest of it's open and that she can crawl through?
I'm not Have you been to a Catholic church? A well-appointed Catholic church with the kneeling boards behind the pews, with the crowd behind you can kneel. That's kind of...
Nope, my grandpa was excommunicated, so I've never been in a Catholic church.
Nice.
True story. Yeah, it's great. So no, I'm not familiar with how Catholic churches are. I'm just familiar with the church that I grew up in.
Okay. So underneath the pews and on their backs are these, occasionally padded, sometimes just thinly so, boards that fold down so the people sitting behind the pew you are in can lean forward onto the kneeling board and save their knees some. But that's what's beneath the pews. So if you're trying to use that for a stealth and crawl, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity plus stealth? Just as a pain in the ass. They are annoying, and it is clear that people are far softer than they should be. And you're using the distraction and cover of the pews to do what? And what is your end goal?
So Miriam would probably be trying to at least as far as she can tell, the Thin Bloods are on their side. But really, anyone that's on their side that's down, she's basically just going to try to drag them out of the middle of the row to just kind of get them away from being trampled.
Okay. So she's going to play Heartbreak Ridge and try to be the pacifist at war.
Yes, more or less.
That's always a doable thing. Nothing bad will ever happen to Peacemaker.
Right? With my little baby dice pool.
Oh.
Have a little baby dice pool.
Well, you can leave it there and take your chances with that. Or, as always, you can use that willpower.
I mean, no, I can't because my failure was a hunger.
Yeah. Ha! There is that. Alright, well, things are about to get a little bad. Not horrible. They're still manageable. You're still unalive. It's perfectly fine. And speaking of perfectly fine and unalive, there's no way that a soul that has been destroyed, that has been shredded, should have the opportunity to be protected from that fate. They've, in essence, died twice. Like Kindred always say that, there's the final death and there's no coming back, blah, 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 blah. For souls, being shredded is it. It's over. It's done. There's no more. There's no afterlife. There's nothing. You are shunted from existence into the unreality of all things. You are unmade. Everything about you no longer exists on any plane of existence. At least this is how it's supposed to be. But here, in front of you, that you are managing to ignore is proof that sometimes every version of the world makes a mistake, and things that shouldn't be saved are. They don't properly Marie Kondo everything that should be. And as he speaks and jibes and does everything he can to catch your attention, the frustration from not being able to do so, Sophia, is apparent. The air grows cold. Frost begins developing on your skin. And Silvio is bodily attempting to place himself between you and this offending spirit. Unfortunately, the spirit is a little bit more focused on getting your attention and reaches into Silvio. And the frost on your skin begins to fade, and the icicles grow on him. You know that it is a pinpoint thing. You have to be spot and perfect, nearly perfect in every way to pull this off. And while you have a few seconds, maybe a few microseconds more, if you do not interact, if you do not stop him, you are sure that Blue will do the unthinkable. The unliving thing will take all the warmth of Silvio's soul into himself.
And she's got no leeway to do anything, right? If she attempts to say or do anything outside the ritual, it's lost. Yep.
No, not lost, but potentially put at risk. It is a gamble. The question as it stands is it worth that gamble to her? Because Blue has one goal, and that goal is to stop whatever it is that she is doing.
When she feels she's got 3 seconds to say something and then go back to the Latin.
Yes.
She will say, "Consider your position when the dawn dies," and go back to the Latin.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your either wits plus persuasion or wits plus intimidation, whichever do you think most applies?
One of these days I dream I will make a rouse check.
It's a horrible, horrible pun, but it is clear that the dice do not find you arousing.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I will take that, however.
The conflagration of things is, without a shadow of a doubt, beyond everyone else's understanding of what is not only possible but probable. It is beyond the scope. Kindred do not openly war in this manner. Spirits do not openly war in this manner. Power is not divested in this manner, and kindred don't die from being suffocated. All things that everyone knows is true and never happens. Yet for the coterie, again, they do the impossible. They surmount every obstacle in their path. They achieve every measure of success that they are capable of, and far more than has possibly ever been accounted for. And this is no different of a situation. Expecting the battle to be never ending, expecting the war to go on forever, expecting this impossible moment to outlast every semblance of now. The power swells, the ritual reaches its crescendo. The blade is suddenly there in Wojcik's chest as he looks towards Hestian. Tendrils of unliving night wrap around him and snatch him away. As that happens, all of the power from that simple prayer that he was uttering, all of the power that had been raised in him sacrificing his wife as gateway and door, comes crashing down. With nowhere to go, with no focus, every kindred presence inside the church must roll a stamina plus athletics to roll with the impact of all of that weight of force and magic exploding outward, blowing things from this world into the next and vice versa.
Is a browse boost allowed?
No.
Oh no.
Okay, you said stamina athletics?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm using willpower. Damn it.
Everyone expects the world to end in warfare, fire and storm, something huge, an explosive reaction. But even as the forces from beyond the world assail, even as the weight of all that magic literally explodes out enough force to knock unliving creatures to their knees and onto their backs, it does so silently. There's no exhalation, there's nothing. There's not even so much as a whimper, just a silent blast of force ripping through the kindred present in the church as Wojcik ceases to be, and the power gathered has nowhere to go. It's literally like snuffing out a candle. And as everyone reels with that force and that magic rocketing through the place, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session. I will see you next week.
Ah, bravo.
Cliffhangers.